Planning your wedding budget but don't know where to start? Let me help you. Let's talk about budgets. Hello all you amazing couples, I'm Matthew, multi-award winning wedding photographer and owner of the Fitzpatrick's Photography. I provide inside tips and tricks on planning the perfect wedding day for the modern couple. So if you haven't already, subscribe and click the bell icon below so you're notified when the next video will land. I'm also over on Instagram as the.fitzpatricks. You will find the URL down here. Make sure you come over and check us out. We have loads of content on there, from real weddings, wedding reels, behind the scenes footage. In this video, however, I'm going to share over 13 years of professional experience as well as my own personal experience planning our wedding, to break down the budget, what are the myths, and hopefully give you a starting point to create the perfect budget for your own day. So let's get started. So, the dreaded wedding spreadsheet. It's what nightmares are made of. There are other tools available. This is just a sheet I put together. Actually, I started on when me and Julia were planning our own wedding, and it's kind of built up from there. As a starting point for this video, I've used the current UK average wedding budget, which is 20,500. That is not to say that 20,500 is the correct amount for your wedding or for any wedding. It's just a number to be used in this video. If you're spending 10,000, 15,000 on your wedding, and that works for you, that is perfect. If you're spending 30, 40, 50,000 on your wedding, and that works for you, that's perfect. This is just a number. The largest proportion of your budget is going to go into your venue and your catering. Depending on which tool you use, and in creating this I pulled information from various tools across the internet, your venue and catering will run somewhere between 40% up to possibly even 60% of your budget. The key here is to understand clearly what is included and what isn't included when booking your venue. So some venues you will be able to agree a package which will include your venue hire, it will include catering, it will include a drinks package, possibly some decoration, maybe a DJ. Others, you are just hiring the venue. So it's really important to understand what it is that you're booking, what is included and what isn't included, and then adjust the spreadsheet accordingly. So if you take in a wedding package, say for 8,000, which should be higher than what is shown in this sheet here, but it then included your food and maybe a drinks package, you could remove that and adjust the sheet accordingly. And again, you can do this with any other tool that you wish to use. After the venue, these are in no particular order, you have florist, which will be about 8% of your budget. How much you will spend on your florist will probably depend on how you're choosing to also decorate your venue. So you've obviously got the traditional main items, which is your bouquet, buttonholes, etc. But beyond that, if you're looking to add real flowers into the decoration for your venue, maybe you want them as part of your table decoration, then that is likely to go up, but it will probably come out of maybe your styling budget or something else like that. But initially, early on, work on expecting about 4% of the budget. Photography, videography, these typically range between about 5% to 6%, maybe a little bit more depending on who you're choosing for your photographer. Our starting price is about 1,500, so we're a little bit higher than this. Some of the packages go beyond that depending on whether you're choosing an album and everything else. But again, it's it depends on what you want and what you want from your day. Videographer, this can be up to again 5%. Typically, a video team will be similar ballpark to photography. So if you're looking to include video, you're probably looking to spend a similar amount on video if you're hiring a separate team to do that. If you're looking at something like hybrid photography, where you have one team do both your video and photography, it's a little bit cheaper, but it depends on which route you want to go and what it is that suits you. Catering and food, again, as we mentioned, this can come under the venue, but will depend on whether that is part of the venue package or whether you're bringing this in separately. If you're bringing it in separately, you're probably thinking about 24% of your budget, with the venue being about 33%. Again, these are very rough numbers. If your catering is part of the venue, then that percentage is probably going to be smaller. For simplicity, if your venue is doing your catering, I would remove the catering line and include everything on that as part of the venue price, because you will have one supplier for that. Music, whether this is a DJ, live band, etc., you're probably looking at about 3% of your budget. Again, this can vary quite wildly, and it can be anything from less than this if you are looking to do maybe hire an in-house DJ, or you've decided to go down the route of your own Spotify play mix. Obviously, it's going to be far less. If you're going for a live band with multiple members, then obviously the price is going to be higher. The great thing about sitting down with a budget is it's not intended to tie you to these figures. It gives you a clear indication of, if we want to spend more here, where do we have to claw money back in order to keep things on budget. Otherwise, what happens is you can get into the habit of just adding and stretching a little bit, adding and stretching a little bit, adding and stretching a little bit. And at each time you do it, it doesn't seem a massive addition, but when you start to add everything up, that budget could have run off exponentially, and you're sat then stressing about where the money's going to come to pay for things. Entertainment, in here this is zero. I mean, entertainment could be a magician, close-up magician. It could be anything else that you're planning that doesn't fall under the music section. But again, this depends on your day and whether that's something you're considering. If you're considering, add it in. If it's something that you're not thinking about, then obviously leave it out. Cake, this is typically around about 3% of the budget, so in this case it'd be about £600-700. Again, as with everything, the costs vary considerably. You could go with a simple 1-2 tier cake, probably going to be 2 minimum, or you could have something extravagant for 5 layers, tiers, not layers. Obviously, the larger, more extravagant your choice, the greater the cost. Stationery is one of those areas that it's easy to think it's a relatively inexpensive part of the day, but can quite easily run away. Again, depending on what you're choosing. So a simple invitation may be less than this if you're just looking to send out the one. If you're looking to send out save the dates, RSVPs and you're looking to send out with that menu options, order of the day, and something a bit more as a keepsake and a bit more fancy, for a better word, you may need to increase the budget there. It's transport. This is again approximately about 2%. Again, this can run up quite a bit more if you're, say, arriving by helicopter. 2% probably isn't going to quite cover that. But transport it's a changing one at the moment, transport. Typically it was the bride and the bridal party who would typically arrive by the wedding car, but these days with the growth of venues where the bridal prep happens at the same location as the ceremony, that budget could be flipped to the groom, and the groomsman may be arriving in a sports car. Obviously, if you're both getting ready at the same place that the ceremony is happening, the reception, then maybe you want to remove this completely and use that money elsewhere within the budget. Styling, again, this will very much depend on what is within the package that you've already agreed with the venue, whether you're happy to go with that as your styling, or whether you want to add your own styling, whether you want to bring in outside suppliers to do this. It's, again, like everything within this, the prices can range wildly, so these numbers are just here to give you an indication of what is a typical spend and how that would break down as a cost. So, jumping on to wedding dress and accessories, the dress, as it were. Typically, this is about 7% of the budget. As with anything, prices range from relatively inexpensive to much higher end, and really depends on what's important to you, whether the dress is the thing that you have dreamt about, that is the symbol of your wedding day, and you want to blow the budget on the dress, just remember to remove it from elsewhere. Menswear, again, 2% is probably based on menswear hire, although the option, if you're to go down the route of something like bespoke tailoring, etc., that will be more expensive. So again, it's just a case of choosing the areas of the budget which are important to you and then adjusting it accordingly. Wedding rings and jewellery, this can be up to 5%. It can be significantly less as well, so it really depends on the style of ring that you want to go for, any additional jewellery that you would like to wear on your wedding day, anything special to you. 5% is a typical benchmark for that. And then hair and makeup makes up about 2%, so about, on this budget, about £400. Now again, if you have a large wedding party with multiple bridesmaids, your mother, friends and family, all a part of the wedding party, that is going to go up quite a bit. So again, keep this in mind when you're thinking about the wedding party and how that may affect other costs within the day. Your registrar's fees will probably be somewhere between £200 to £300. This does occasionally vary from location to location. It will also depend on if you're getting married in a religious setting and the fees associated with the church, synagogue for doing that. If you're getting married in a registry office, or if you're getting married at a licensed venue at which a registrar would have to travel to, in which case is the difference between the civil service, even though they are both the same legally as a non-religious wedding, actually the costs are different, because to get married at a registry office is less than getting married at a venue where the registrar will come to you. Insurance, how much cover you will need. will depend on your overall budget. This is down as 0 in here, but that is not a recommendation to not get insurance. I think anything in the last 2 years has taught us that occasionally insurance can be useful. Double check when you're looking at insurance that unexpected cancellations, issues outside the venue's control, etc., are covered as part of the policy. But make sure that you take out enough cover to cover everything that you wouldn't be able to rearrange. Wedding night, this is the night before, so maybe your venue includes this the night before and the night after. Maybe they include that as part of the package. If they don't, do you want to stay the night before at the venue? And if you do, what will be the cost for doing so? If you're looking to stay at the venue with the members of your wedding party, who is expected to pay for that? Is that coming out of your budget, or will they be paying for that? On any of these things where there may be an expectation for somebody else to pay, so staying over the night before, bridesmaids' dresses, etc., anything like this, it's always better to have the conversations early on and be clear about who is expected to pay for what and what people are happy to pay for. Assuming people are happy to pay for them, only for them to be then upset that you've asked later on, is a much more difficult conversation to have than to address it early on and potentially make any changes based on their feedback. It is your wedding day. It's plan it the way you want, but any conversation that you think may be difficult to have, my suggestion on these is just have them early on, speak to everybody involved, and make sure that you're all on the same page, that everybody's happy, and therefore the actual wedding planning process will be much easier and much less stressful. Wedding favours and gifts. Gone are the day when sugared almonds were your only choice for favours. Today you have so many options when it comes to favours and wedding gifts. It's always a good idea to check whether you actually receive anything like this as part of your wedding package. Some venues will do this, others they won't. So again, just reiterating the previous point, make sure you're aware of what is included and isn't included in everything that you've booked, so that you're not buying things that you don't need to buy or not purchasing something that you later regret adding. But typically these will be about 2% of your budget if you need to include them. Your honeymoon, this will probably be larger than 0 if you're choosing to go away, but this is such a unknown number, it's typically left out of the budget itself. But if the money you have in mind also includes your honeymoon, make sure you include it. It's important to make sure that that is factored in and that you don't get 3/4 of the way through your wedding and then suddenly realise that you've got enough money for the wedding day but not enough for the actual honeymoon that maybe you've already paid a deposit on. So, announcements, if you wish to put anything in the paper or in anything else to announce your upcoming wedding, this is where that would be. Typically more an American thing than a British thing. But if you do wish to make an announcement, you're probably not looking at a large proportion of your budget, but this is where you'd factor that in. Any other extras, make sure that you include them as well. Now the extras are where your budget can run away surprisingly quickly, so make sure that any of the other things that you're buying, any little additional items, make sure that they're being added to your spreadsheet. This spreadsheet has another 4 or 5 tabs which then all feed information through into this main sheet so that it's easy to track and everything's on one page. If you want me to go through that in any more detail, please let me know and I'd be happy to do so. If you've just started your wedding planning journey, not sure where to start, we've broken the process down into 12 steps. You can find the video up here. Also, if you found this information useful and would like to watch further videos and keep up to date with the other information that we're sharing, please click subscribe and also hit the bell icon so you'll be notified as soon as a new video is released. Cheers, speak to you soon.